Okay, so are you ready to go deep on this one?
Let's do it.
We're talking law of one, but with a twist this time.
Ooh, a twist?
You provided some sources on occult practices and ancient mysteries, so
Sounds right up my alley.
buckle up, because this deep dive is going to get a little wild.
I'm game if you are.
All right, so the law of one mentions this thing called third spiral energy,
Third spiral energy, yeah.
particularly related to the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid.
Right?
Now, pyramids are kind of your thing.
Definitely.
What do you think the significance of that location could be?
Well, the King's Chamber is considered like an energetic focal point, you know?
Okay.
A place where the energy is really concentrated within the pyramid.
Hmm.
The law of one suggests that this third spiral energy is connected to spiritual evolution.
Right.
And the chamber itself might actually act as a conduit or like an amplifier for that energy.
So it's like the pyramid is a giant energy machine.
It's a possibility.
That's wild. Okay, so let's add another layer to this.
Okay.
You got all these other sources
Yeah.
packed with serpent symbolism.
Yeah.
And it's not like the typical evil serpent thing either.
It really makes you wonder why the serpent appears across so many cultures and time periods, right? I mean, what is it about that archetype that resonates so deeply with us?
For starters,
Hmm.
the number 6 keeps popping up in connection with the serpent.
Yeah, 6.
Did you know that the word for 6 in tons of languages often starts with S?
Really?
And the letter S itself visually came from a cobra.
Wow, I did not know that.
Even crazier, the word Vatican can be broken down to divination by the serpent.
No way.
Spooky, right?
Hold on, let's not jump to conclusions too quickly.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in all the spooky stuff.
Right.
I think there's a deeper meaning here.
Okay.
The serpent a lot of times represents transformation,
Okay.
shedding the old skin to embrace the new, you know?
Yeah.
Could the number 6 and its link to the serpent actually symbolize a process of change?
Okay.
Perhaps even like a shift in consciousness.
I see what you mean. But then we have this whole 666 and Mark of the Beast thing,
Right.
which definitely has a darker vibe to it.
Yeah, it does.
So how do we reconcile those two interpretations?
Well, it's important to remember that symbols can have multiple interpretations.
Right.
And their meanings can evolve over time.
Okay.
You know, the Mark of the Beast could be a later, more fear-based interpretation
Right.
that got layered onto older, more nuanced understandings of serpent symbolism.
That makes sense.
Like how in ancient Egypt, the serpent represented by the uraeus on the pharaoh's crown,
Yeah.
that serpent was a symbol of royalty and wisdom.
Right.
But later on, with the rise of Christianity, the serpent image became demonized.
Totally. Yeah.
Context really matters.
Mm-hmm.
We need to approach these occult traditions with a discerning eye,
Okay.
not just blindly accepting everything,
Huh.
but also not dismissing them outright.
So we're basically playing symbol detectives here.
Precisely. And the more pieces we find, the clearer the bigger picture becomes.
Love it. All right. Let's uncover some more clues then.
Let's do it.
There are some interesting connections to bees.
Bees. Okay.
So we've got golden bees sewn onto the cloak of a Merovingian king.
Hmm.
And Napoleon even adopted those bees for his coronation robe.
Interesting.
It's wild.
Well, what's interesting about bees is they're associated with wisdom
Okay?
and divine harmony.
Mm.
You know, the honeycomb with its hexagonal structure,
Yeah.
that was seen as a reflection of natural order,
Okay.
like a manifestation of higher intelligence at work.
Hmm.
You know?
And get this, the word Essene,
I see.
you know, those folks from the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right.
It means king bee.
Whoa, really? I never knew that.
I know, isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
So if we connect that to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
it kind of hints at a potential link between all these ancient groups
Yeah.
and the occult traditions that we're looking at.
So could the bees symbolize hidden knowledge
Okay.
passed down through secret societies?
Whoa, now that's a thought.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second. A lot of these sources mention this thing called the Hemetic Hypothesis,
Hemetic Hypothesis.
which is related to African civilizations.
Oh, okay.
What is that all about? And how could it relate to the law of one's ideas about where humanity came from?
So the Hemetic Hypothesis is a theory.
Okay.
It's largely discredited now, but it proposed that some African civilizations were founded by migrants from the north,
Okay.
specifically descendants of Ham, one of Noah's sons.
Interesting.
This theory was often used to explain the sophistication of African societies,
Okay.
as if they couldn't have developed complex cultures on their own.
So basically it's saying that advanced knowledge had to come from outside Africa.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a prevailing view for a long time
Wow.
and really undermined the achievements of African peoples.
Right.
However, modern scholarship has totally rejected that theory
Okay, good.
and now recognizes the rich and diverse history of civilizations all across the African continent.
Which actually aligns with the law of one's teaching that all souls come from the same source. Right. And are interconnected regardless of physical location or cultural background.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The law of one emphasizes unity, not division.
Right.
It acknowledges the inherent potential for spiritual growth within all beings.
Okay, one last piece of the puzzle before we move on.
Yeah.
This concept of the eternal now,
Eternal now. Okay.
which comes up in the context of African music and spirituality.
Interesting.
How does that idea resonate with the law of one's teachings about time and consciousness?
The eternal now is this powerful idea that suggests a shift in perception,
Okay.
a transcendence of linear time.
Right.
In African music, the rhythmic patterns and call and response structures
Yeah.
create this sense of timelessness, emerging with the present moment.
It's like getting lost in the music.
Yeah,
Losing track of past and future and just being totally present.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that resonates with the law of one's teachings about the illusory nature of time.
Okay.
The past and future are just mental constructs,
Right.
while true reality only exists in the now.
So you're saying that African musical traditions might actually offer a pathway to experiencing this eternal now.
That's a possibility.
How would that work?
Well, these traditions often incorporate drumming and trance states,
Yeah.
which can alter brainwave patterns and induce altered states of consciousness.
Okay.
So it's possible that these states provide glimpses into the nature of reality,
Okay.
beyond our everyday perceptions.
So we're not just talking about music here.
No.
We're talking about a spiritual practice,
Right.
a way of accessing a different level of awareness.
It's a very insightful observation.
Yeah.
Perhaps the law of one's teachings, while presented in a philosophical framework,
Yeah.
might be accessible through these embodied practices,
Right.
like music and dance.
This is all incredibly fascinating.
I know, right?
But before we get too carried away, I want to bring it back to the core principles of the law of one.
Okay, sounds good.
We've been exploring the serpent, the number 6, the eternal now. How do all these things tie back to the law of one?
That's where the real synthesis happens.
Okay.
The law of one emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things,
Right.
the unity of creation.
Yeah.
So these symbols and occult traditions
Yeah.
could be seen as different expressions of that underlying unity.
So even though they might seem mysterious or even contradictory on the surface,
Yeah.
they're all pointing towards the same truth.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Right.
You know, we're taking all these seemingly disparate pieces of information,
Yeah.
weaving them together,
Uh-huh.
and we're starting to see this tapestry of interconnected wisdom emerge.
It's like one of those magic eye pictures.
Huh.
At first, it's just a bunch of random shapes.
Right.
But then, boom,
Oh,
a 3D image pops out.
Exactly.
And it was there all along, hidden in plain sight.
That's a wonderful analogy.
Thank you.
And maybe that's what all these occult traditions are inviting us to do,
Okay.
to look deeper, to question our assumptions, and to discover those hidden dimensions within ourselves and the world around us.
I love that.
All right, so we've been on quite the journey exploring these connections between the law of one and all these fascinating occult sources.
We have.
But now I kind of want to shift the focus to, to the listener.
Right.
How can we actually apply all of this knowledge to our everyday lives?
Yeah, we've covered a lot, energy, consciousness, other dimensions.
Right.
But what does it all mean for us, like practically?
Well, the law of one really emphasizes personal transformation.
Okay.
It's about moving from this sense of separation to a sense of unity.
Got-
Recognizing that we're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And that begins with our own inner work.
So it's not about waiting for some external event or savior.
Right.
It's about changing ourselves from the inside out.
Precisely.
Okay.
The law of one suggests that true change happens at the level of consciousness. It's about shifting our beliefs, our thoughts, even our actions
Yeah.
to align with that principle of unity.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But how do we actually go about doing that?
Right.
Do these occult sources offer any guidance there?
They do.
Okay.
A lot of these traditions emphasize practices like meditation,
Okay.
mindfulness, self-reflection.
Right.
These practices can help us become more aware of our thoughts and emotions
Yeah.
so we can identify and release those limiting beliefs
Okay.
that are keeping us stuck in these patterns of separation.
So it's like cleaning house.
Huh.
getting rid of all the mental clutter
Right.
that's preventing our spiritual growth.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Just like cleaning our physical spaces can create a more peaceful and harmonious environment,
Right.
clearing our minds can create a more spacious and receptive inner landscape.
Okay, I'm seeing the connections here.
Yeah.
But the law of one also talks about service to others.
Yes, service to others.
So how does that fit into all of this?
Service to others is something that flows naturally
Okay.
from recognizing our interconnectedness. When we understand that we're all part of the same web of life, we naturally want to contribute to the well-being of the whole.
So it's not just about focusing on our own personal spiritual growth,
Right.
but also extending that compassion and love outward to others.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the law of one suggests that service to others,
Yeah.
it's not just about doing good deeds. It's about approaching all of our interactions with a spirit of love and understanding.
That sounds pretty challenging, to be honest.
I mean, it's not always easy.
Yeah, especially in a world that often feels so divided and full of conflict. So how do we maintain that loving awareness?
Yeah, that's a good question.
When we're faced with negativity or difficult situations?
Well, that's where the real work begins.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The law of one encourages us to practice detachment.
Detachment.
Yeah, to observe our reactions without judgment.
Okay.
And to consciously choose our responses.
So taking a step back.
Right.
Creating some space between ourselves and the situation.
Yeah.
So we can respond with more clarity.
Yes.
Rather than just reacting.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we always have a choice in how we respond.
Yeah.
Even when it might not feel like it.
That's a powerful insight.
It is.
It reminds me of that quote.
Oh, yeah.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space.
Yes.
In that space is our power to choose our response.
That's a beautiful quote.
I love that one.
It perfectly captures the essence of what the law of one is teaching.
Yeah.
We're not victims of circumstance.
Right.
We're creators of our own reality. With each choice, we have the opportunity to align ourselves with unity, love, and service.
That's inspiring, but also feels like a huge responsibility.
I understand.
So are we saying that we're completely responsible for everything that happens in our lives?
That's a complex question.
Right.
The law of one acknowledges the role of free will.
Okay.
And the interplay of individual and collective energies.
Yeah.
We're not in complete control of everything. But we do have the power to choose our thoughts, our actions, and ultimately our vibrational alignment.
So it's not about blaming ourselves for everything.
No, not at all.
But rather empowering ourselves to create positive change.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the law of one suggests that even small acts of kindness and compassion can have a ripple effect and contribute to a more harmonious and loving world.
Okay, I'm starting to grasp how these abstract concepts can translate into real-world action.
Good.
But the law of one also talks about this thing called spiritual evolution.
Spiritual evolution, yeah.
So what does that actually mean?
Right.
And how can we know if we're evolving?
So spiritual evolution in the context of the law of one is about moving towards greater understanding and compassion.
Okay.
It's about embodying the principles of unity and service. It's not a linear process, though.
Okay.
And it's not about reaching some external goal or destination.
So it's not like getting a gold star or crossing a finish line. Yeah.
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
It's an ongoing journey of self-discovery,
Oh,
this continuous process of refining our vibrational frequency and aligning ourselves with the love and light of the Creator.
Okay, but how do we know if we're on the right path? Are there like signs of spiritual progress?
The law of one suggests that our experiences, both the challenging ones and the joyful ones, are all opportunities for growth.
Right.
It's about learning from those experiences, extracting the wisdom, and using that wisdom to make choices that are more aligned with our true selves.
So it's not about avoiding difficulties
No.
or seeking constant bliss,
Not necessarily.
but rather embracing the full spectrum of human experience as a catalyst for growth.
That's a profound insight.
Yeah, it's kind of beautiful in a way.
And the law of one reminds us that we're not alone on this journey.
Right.
We have guidance from higher realms, from our own inner wisdom, and from each other.
It's comforting to hear. It's easy to feel lost or overwhelmed sometimes,
I know what you mean.
especially when delving into these like complex spiritual teachings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The law of one encourages us to trust the process,
Okay.
to surrender to the flow of life,
Right.
and to remember that we're always supported and guided,
Yeah.
even when we can't see it.
Okay. That's a beautiful message.
It is.
It's a reminder that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
Like this cosmic dance of energy and consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the law of one suggests that we each have a unique role to play in that dance.
Okay.
A special contribution to make to the evolution of consciousness.
So it's not about comparing ourselves to others
Right.
or striving for some external standard of success, but rather expressing our own unique gifts and talents in service to the whole.
Beautifully said.
Wow.
The law of one encourages us to celebrate our diversity,
Yeah.
to honor the unique expression of each soul,
Right.
and to recognize that we're all interconnected, each playing our part in this grand symphony of creation.
My mind is buzzing with all these insights.
Okay.
I'm starting to see how the law of one can provide a framework for understanding our lives,
Yeah.
our purpose,
Right.
and our place in the universe.
That's the power of these teachings.
Yeah.
They offer this holistic perspective, a way of integrating our spiritual understanding with our everyday experiences.
But it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, is it?
Definitely not.
The law of one encourages each of us to find our own unique path,
Yeah.
to discover what resonates with our own souls.
That's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
The law of one isn't a dogma or a set of rigid rules.
Okay.
It's a guide, a compass,
Right.
for navigating our own unique spiritual journeys.
I love that.
It invites us to explore different perspectives, to question our assumptions,
Right.
and to arrive at our own understanding of truths.
So it's not about blindly following someone else's interpretation,
Right.
but using the law of one as a springboard for our own personal exploration.
Precisely.
I dig it.
And that's what makes this depth dive so exciting. We're not just learning about the law of one, we're engaging with it, wrestling with its concepts,
Right.
and integrating them into our own understanding of reality.
You ready to go even deeper?
Always.
Okay, we've explored the practical implications of the law of one, but now I want to delve into the mysteries of consciousness itself.
Okay, let's do it.
What does the law of one say about the nature of awareness?
Yeah.
And what are the possibilities for expanding our consciousness?
Fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to venture into uncharted territory.
Let's go.
The law of one describes consciousness as this fundamental aspect of reality, a primary force that permeates all of creation. It suggests that our human consciousness is just a tiny spark of a much vaster field of awareness.
Well, are we talking about universal consciousness?
Possibly.
Like a cosmic mind that connects us all?
That's a very profound concept.
It is.
And it's definitely something that the law of one alludes to.
Okay.
Remember, the law of one emphasizes unity.
Right.
The interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
Perhaps that unity extends to the realm of consciousness itself.
So we're not just separate individuals.
Right.
But we're part of a larger consciousness.
Yeah.
Like drops in an ocean of awareness.
That's a beautiful way to picture it.
Right.
And the law of one suggests that we can tap into that ocean.
Okay.
That we can expand our consciousness beyond the limitations of our individual minds.
Okay, that sounds amazing, but also a little intimidating.
It can be both.
Yeah, so how do we actually expand our consciousness?
Right.
Are we talking like meditation, psychedelics, or something else entirely?
The law of one offers a variety of pathways for expanding consciousness.
Okay.
It emphasizes the importance of intention.
Okay.
Of consciously choosing to align ourselves with the principles of love, light, and unity.
So it's not about following a specific technique or formula, but about cultivating a certain mindset.
Right.
A willingness to open ourselves to new possibilities.
That's a very insightful observation. The law of one suggests that our beliefs and intentions shape our reality. So by choosing to align ourselves with love and light, we can create a more expansive and harmonious experience.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works.
Good.
But the law of one also talks about different densities of consciousness.
Right, densities.
What are those densities?
Okay.
And how do we know if we're moving towards higher densities?
So the law of one describes this spectrum of consciousness densities,
Okay.
with each density representing a different level of vibrational frequency and awareness. We as humans are currently in third density.
Third density.
A realm characterized by duality.
Okay.
And the exploration of free will.
So third density is like a training ground where we're learning to make choices.
Yeah.
And understand the consequences of those choices.
That's a great way to think about it. The law of one suggests that as we evolve spiritually,
Right.
As we embody love and unity, our vibrational frequency increases.
Right.
And we naturally move towards higher densities.
Okay, so higher densities are like higher levels of consciousness.
Yes.
With greater understanding compassion, and interconnectedness.
That's a good summary.
Okay?
And the law of one suggests that as we move towards those higher densities,
Yeah.
we shed the limitations of our ego selves
Okay.
and experience a greater sense of unity with all of creation.
Wow, that sounds incredible.
It is a pretty amazing concept.
But how do we know if we're actually making progress?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, are there like signs or indicators of moving towards higher densities?
The law of one suggests that as we evolve spiritually,
Okay.
we experience a greater sense of peace,
Okay.
joy, and interconnectedness.
Mm-hmm.
We become more compassionate,
Right.
more forgiving,
Okay.
and more willing to serve others.
So it's not about achieving some external goal or status.
Right.
It's like an inner transformation,
Yes,
a shift in our way of being.
that's a key point.
Okay.
Spiritual evolution is an inner journey
Right.
that's reflected in our thoughts, emotions, and actions.
Yeah.
As we embody the principles of the law of one,
Mm-hmm.
we naturally radiate a more loving and harmonious energy out into the world.
Okay. I'm beginning to understand the transformative power of the law of one.
Good. I'm glad.
But what about these occult traditions we've been discussing?
Right.
Do they offer any insights into the nature of consciousness
Yeah.
or how to access higher densities?
Many occult traditions explore the mysteries of consciousness,
Okay.
and they offer practices for expanding awareness.
Like what?
For example, alchemy is often seen as a metaphor for spiritual transformation.
Okay.
This process of purifying and refining the soul.
So like turning lead into gold.
Exactly.
But instead of physical metals,
Right.
we're working with our own inner energies.
That's a very insightful analogy. Many occult practices like meditation, visualization, and energy work
Yeah.
can be seen as tools for working with those inner energies.
Yeah.
For transforming our consciousness.
Right.
And aligning ourselves with higher vibrational frequencies.
I'm starting to see the connections between these different traditions.
Yeah, me too.
You know, they're all pointing toward the same truth,
Right?
just offering different paths to the same destination.
That's a profound realization.
It is pretty well.
And the law of one encourages us to explore these different perspectives.
Okay.
To find what resonates with our own souls.
Yeah.
It reminds us that there are many paths to spiritual awakening.
I love that. Let's bring this back to, the listener.
Okay.
What does this all mean for those of us who are intrigued by the law of one
Yeah.
and these occult traditions?
Right.
How can we use this knowledge to navigate our own spiritual journeys?
That's a great question.
It's a big one.
The law of one invites us to become conscious creators of our own reality, to align our thoughts, actions, and intentions with love light and unity.
Right.
And these occult traditions offer this wealth of practices and insights
Yeah.
that can support us on that journey.
So it's not about passively absorbing information.
Yeah.
It's about actively engaging with these teachings,
Right.
experimenting with different practices,
Yeah.
and finding what truly works for us.
Exactly.
I like that.
The law of one is a living philosophy,
Okay.
a guide for personal exploration and transformation.
Mm-hmm.
It encourages us to be curious,
Yeah.
to question our assumptions, and to discover our own unique path to spiritual awakening.
Okay, so we've been exploring the law of one and all its connections to ancient mysteries and the nature of consciousness.
Right now, it's time to look ahead. What does the law of one say about the future for humanity?
The big question. The big one. But before we get into the nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
can you give us some context, like what's the overall picture here?
Well, the law of one suggests that we're currently in a period of transition, moving from third density to fourth density consciousness. This is a time of immense opportunity for spiritual growth, but also a time of potential upheaval. As old structures and ways of being start to crumble away.
So it's like a cosmic upgrade.
Haha, yeah, you could say that.
But it might get a little bumpy along the way.
There might be some turbulence, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
The law of one really emphasizes the importance of choice
Okay.
and suggests that we as a collective are choosing the direction of our evolution.
So we're not just passengers on this cosmic ride.
Right.
We're actively shaping the future with our choices.
Exactly.
That's kind of a mind-blowing thought. But
Yeah.
okay, what about all these occult sources we've been exploring?
Yeah,
Do they have anything to say about this transition period?
they actually do.
Okay.
A lot of these traditions talk about a coming age of transformation,
Okay.
a time of spiritual awakening and a shift in consciousness.
Interesting.
For example, some interpretations of the Mayan calendar
The Mayan calendar, right?
point to a period of accelerated change and the potential for a new era of peace and harmony.
So it's not just the law of one talking about this.
Right.
This idea is echoed across different cultures and traditions.
Exactly. It suggests that there might be something much deeper going on here. Perhaps a convergence of energies and a collective shift in consciousness that's unfolding on a global scale.
That's exciting and a little intimidating at the same time.
I know, it's a lot to take in.
It is.
Yeah.
But what does this transition actually look like?
Right.
Like, what kind of changes can we expect to see?
The law of one suggests that as we move towards fourth density consciousness, we'll experience a greater sense of interconnectedness and unity. We'll become more aware of our energetic nature and the impact we have on the world around us.
It's like waking up from a dream and realizing we're all part of something much bigger.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And the law of one suggests that as we awaken to this interconnectedness, we'll naturally shift toward more compassionate and sustainable ways of living.
I see how that aligns with the principles of the law of one, love, light, unity.
Exactly.
But let's get real for a second. We're seeing so much conflict and division in the world right now.
It's true.
How does that fit into this whole picture of moving towards a more harmonious future?
The law of one acknowledges that this transition period won't be easy.
Okay.
There will be challenges,
right,
upheavals,
yeah,
as old structures and ways of being crumble. There's going to be resistance, fear, and a clinging to what's familiar.
Right, so it's like the birth pangs of a new era.
Yeah, I like that.
This time of both destruction and creation.
That's a powerful analogy.
Yeah.
And the law of one encourages us to embrace this process, to see the challenges as opportunities for growth and transformation.
That's a challenging perspective, to be honest.
I understand.
Especially when we're faced with so much suffering and uncertainty.
It's not easy.
It's not. But how do we navigate these turbulent times?
Right.
What kind of guidance does the law of one offer?
Well, the law of one emphasizes the importance of choice.
Choice, okay.
It suggests that each of us has the power to choose love over fear, unity over division, and to align ourselves with these forces of light and healing.
So it's not about waiting for someone else to fix things.
No.
It's about taking responsibility for our own thoughts, actions, and energy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the law of one suggests that even small acts of kindness and compassion can ripple outward and create a more harmonious and loving world.
That's empowering, but it also feels like a lot of pressure.
It does.
Are you saying that the fate of humanity rests on our individual choices?
The law of one acknowledges the interplay of individual and collective energies.
Right.
So while we're not in complete control of everything,
yeah,
we do have the power to influence the direction of our evolution.
So it's like we're all contributing to this collective tapestry.
Yes.
And each thread, each choice we make adds to the overall pattern.
That's a beautiful analogy.
It is. But let's get practical again.
Okay.
What are some concrete things we can do to align ourselves with this positive future?
The law of one really emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and inner work. Practices like meditation, mindfulness, and self-reflection can help us become more conscious of our thoughts, emotions, and actions.
So it's about getting to know ourselves better.
Yes.
Understanding our own patterns and motivations.
Exactly.
So we can make more long choices.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense.
As we become more self-aware, we can start to identify and release those limiting beliefs and behaviors that keep us stuck in patterns of fear and separation.
Right. But what about our interactions with other people?
Yeah.
How do we embody these principles of the law of one in our relationships and communities?
The law of one encourages us to approach all our interactions with compassion and understanding.
Okay.
It's about seeing the divine spark in everyone, even those who challenge us.
So practicing forgiveness.
Yes.
Empathy. Being willing to see things from different perspectives.
Exactly.
Okay.
The law of one suggests that by extending love and compassion to others, we not only contribute to their well-being, but also raise our own vibrational frequency and accelerate our own spiritual evolution.
I'm starting to see how it all connects.
Yeah.
It's like a holistic approach to life.
It is.
A way of integrating our spiritual understanding with our everyday actions.
Right.
But it's not always easy, is it?
No, it's not.
There will be times when we stumble, when we fall short of these ideals.
Absolutely. The law of one acknowledges that we're all on a journey.
Okay.
And there will be times when we make mistakes.
Right.
The key is to be gentle with ourselves.
Yeah.
To learn from those experiences and to keep moving forward with a spirit of love and forgiveness.
So it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about progress.
that's a wonderful way to put it.
Yeah.
And the law of one reminds us that we're always supported and guided, even when we can't see it.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
'Cause it's easy to feel overwhelmed or lost sometimes.
I know.
Especially when we're dealing with all the challenges in the world around us.
I hear you.
Yeah.
The law of one encourages us to trust the process, to surrender to the flow of life,
Right.
and to remember that we're a part of something much larger than ourselves.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've explored the law of one, its connections to ancient mysteries, and what it all means for our present and future.
It's a lot to ponder.
It is. Is there like one key takeaway you want to leave our listener with?
The law of one really offers a message of hope and empowerment.
Okay.
It reminds us that we're not alone, that we have the power to choose love over fear, and that we can co-create a more harmonious and fulfilling future for ourselves and for all of humanity.
That's a beautiful message to end on. So to you, the listener,
Yeah.
we encourage you to keep exploring these teachings. Experiment with different practices and find your own unique way of embodying the principles of the law of one.
Until next time, may your journey be filled with love, light, and the joy of discovery.